Hi guys, we left off in part one where we were talking about this idea of a DHCP relay. And on my screen here you can see that essentially where we left off, the DHCP messages are getting stuck or they're not being sent through from OR1 up to the DHCP server, which is OR2 in this case. So what we need to do is we need to enable when a DHCP request comes into the interface, and this is gigabit 00 here, it should be sent up directly to our DHCP server. So let's configure that now. So what I'm going to do is we were at this stage where we went into interface gigabit 00, we typed in the command IP helper address, and then we were selecting what is the next hop address that needs to go to the DHCP server. So if I have a look at that, I can see that this serial link is connected to this serial 000, and if I hover over that, its IP address is 10.1.1.2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my friend OR1 in this case, and I'm going to say 10.1.1.2. And once I do that, it's now added in that relay. So now, before our DHCP messages were only getting to this router, they should now be passed up to the router 2. Let's try that. Let's just give it a quick simulation. Let's try another simulation. So let's find our little simulation tool, which is here, and let's try that again. So let's escape, and let's go to, sorry, it's in the background here. What I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to click on static, and then what that's done is it's forced basically another DHCP request. Now, if I press play to that, what we should be able to see is this request should go up to the router and it should get processed through. Now, if it doesn't, okay, we haven't let it go long enough, but you can see now it's actually happening. So in this case, what should be happening is it's gone up to the router, and the router should serve that message. Now again, it might take a little bit of time before that router responds. So sometimes what's nice to do here is just to actually move this out of the way and go to real-time mode and allow that DHCP to request, come back, and hopefully now we should get a valid address. And you can see in this case, and it's difficult to see there, guys, but we're getting the address 192.168.10.11. Why are we getting .11? Because remember, we excluded the first 10 addresses from 10.1 all the way up to 10.10. So we get .11, we get a standard 24 bit mask, so /24 255.255.255.0, and we get a default gateway, which is gigabit 00 on this interface here, and then we're also populating with the DNS server, which was our friend over here. So now we need to do the same on this guy. We need to go into this router and we need to have a look at its configuration. So one way to do this, guys, is we can press enter, enable, go show IP interface brief, make that nice and big so we can see it, read this a little bit clearer. So we know that our gigabit Ethernet interface there, we can see there it's gigabit 00, and it looks like it's very hard to see there, guys, which interface is on, and this is why I like doing this show IP interface brief, because again we can see it's gigabit 00, and that's going to be where our DHCP messages are going to be coming in from. So what I'm going to do is go to conft interface gigabit 0/0, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go IP helper address. And what one is this going to be? Well, again, this is coming in here, and it's coming in by the looks of things on serial 001. So what I can do is I can hover over that guy and just double check 001, and that address is 10.2.2.2. So I'm going to go back here and say 10.2.2.2. And what that's going to do is when I get a DHCP, a DORA message coming in here, the router is going to forward that up to this router 2. What's going to happen? An offer is going to come back down to PC2 to offer him an address. So once I press enter here, I can now flick. We can try the simulation tool now, guys. Let's go back in here. Let's go to desktop. Let's go to IP configuration, and let's request a DHCP. Here's our discover message. So off goes our discover to the router. Hopefully it passes along, which it does. Now we should get a offer, Okay, and here it comes, guys. So this is the offer coming back. So now in this case, you can see it needs to, it needs to ARP. So it might interrupt, but essentially this message we should be able to see. Oh, in this case, guys, it's the ARP message that's coming back. So I might have to keep pressing forward here. It's not the actual DHCP message offer at this stage. So it's just actually an so I'm just pressing forward here. I can see lots of routing protocol messages here. Again, I'm waiting to see, have I got any discover offer? Okay, so I'm getting here now, guys. This looks like I'm pressing forward, but this looks to me like this is the offer message coming through. If I click on this little envelope, it should hopefully show us this offer message that's going to actually pass down to our PC2. So if I look in the outbound message, sometimes you've got to have a little bit of patience with this, but you can see in this case, guys, we've got our DHCP domain name server option. Okay, so that's actually passing the DNS information down to the PC. And also here, guys, we can see that in fact, look at the address it's offering our client. It's offering the client 30.11. It's saying, where is it coming from? It's coming from 10.2.2.2. Who's 10.2.2.2? That's our friend R2 on this serial 001 interface. You can see here, guys, the key information, I guess, is this, your client address. I'm just looking if there's any other relevant information that we can see there. Yeah, I think that's really the key parts of the information there, folks. So very, very important information. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let that message flow down, let that go to the PC. Once that gets to the PC, what are we going to do? We're essentially going to request, here comes, so what we've had so far is we've had the discover going up to the router, we've had the offer coming back, we're now getting a request to say, hey, yeah, I'd really like that information, and finally what's going to come back from the router? An acknowledgement is coming back. And this should be the last of the message. And what this should do is, once this acknowledgement comes in, we should see our IP addressing and subnet mask default gateway being populated. And once I click here, let's just have a look at it. And here it is, guys. We can see it now. We can see our 30.11 address coming in. And you can see this computer is very happy here that discover offer request and acknowledge has finished. Okay. It's also got the DNS information. So now that we've done that, guys, that's configured that. You can see our score is nicely checked up there. We can see that we're very, very close to, we're 90 out of 100, but we're not happy with 90. We want to obviously get the 100%. So the last part of this exercise is to say, hey, let's configure R2 as a DHCP client. So this is the router connected to the internet. So again, this is a common practice in maybe home networks and business networks in the way that we request a DHCP address from our ISP and our ISP leases us an address. So at the moment, this link is actually turned off. What we need to do is we need to get an IP address. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to just put this here. I'm going to go back to privilege mode and I'm going to go conft. I'm going to do it, well, before that, I'm going to go exit again. I'm going to do a show IP interface brief just to have a quick look at what the situation is with it. And I can see at the moment, this looks like to me, it's gigabit 0/1. Okay, gigabit 0/1 at the moment is basically unassigned. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go conft. I'm going to go into gigabit 0/1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say IP DHCP. Now it's saying it's not recognizing that address. So let's try IP address. That looks better. And let's just hit the question mark. And again, this context sensitive help can be useful, particularly if you haven't done this command in a while, guys. So DHCP. And what I'm going to do is, I don't think there's any more options. And it's saying, yeah, carriage return or enter. And that should allow me to finish that off. And what that's going to do now, guys, is that's going to now, when the interface comes up, it's going to start asking, can you give me an IP address, please? And what I'm finally going to do, guys, is I'm going to go no shutdown. And what that's done, folks, is you can see here, it's brought the link from red to to looks like a green or an amber color. It's sending out what looks to me like a DHCP request. I can see, guys, this is, this looks good and positive because I've got 100 out of 100, but obviously what we can do is we can allow this to go back to real-time mode, and essentially what we should be seeing, guys, is this spanning tree is going through the phases. We'll need to request an IP address in a moment when this goes green, but what we should be able to see now, guys, is once that changes from amber to green, we should be able to see a IP address being given. So let's go into brief, and at the moment I still don't have an IP address, guys, but you can see, look, DHCP has been set. I've got an up state, layer 1 is up, layer 2 is up. I just need to wait for that to go green before the DHCP process will start, where I can ask the ISP for DHCP, and this router at the edge of the network will be able to give me an IP address. Now what I like to do sometimes, guys, is I like to speed up this process a little bit. Okay, now I can see, after fast forwarding, what I'm going to do now is we go back into this router, and you can see that there's an adjacency that's formed. This is the routing protocol between me and the ISP. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run a show IP interface brief, and what we'll be able to see, guys, is indeed I've got a DHCP address. Whoa, how cool is that, guys? So what we've just seen in this exercise is we've seen how to configure a DHCP server on the router. We've seen how to set up 2 relays, one relay from OR1 pointing up to OR2 and one relay from OR3 pointing up to OR2. We've configured the router as a DHCP client to the ISP, and we've verified DHCP. Connectivity, well, what we could do, guys, to give that a try, we could actually try going to a website to give it an actual test. So in here, for example, what I could do is I could go into my browser, and what I could do is, hopefully in this case, I could type in cisco.com, and what I'm hoping is it would bring up the test website for cisco.com. So let's give that a try to just test our connectivity. And in here, let's go. Let's see if this works, and it does work, guys. So we can see there that we've been successful. Obviously, this is a simulator, and we're just simulating this server, but you can see that we are indeed getting to our website. Okay, guys, that's the end of the DHCP part 2 exercise. I hope this has been of value to you, and thanks for viewing.